Terry Kath, the forgotten guitar god. Criminally overlooked for some reason that I can't figure out. For those of you that know, this man was simply phenomenal. But for those that don't, let me enlighten you. Okay, after a week's work on this thing, uploaded it last night, to get up this morning and find that YouTube's wonderful robo blocker has blocked the clip in some zones and completely demonetized it. So that's why I've popped in here in the middle of my perfectly executed bloody solo. I guess my take must have been fairly accurate. Don't worry, you will get to learn the whole thing. Stay tuned. Stick with us. Terry Kath was born in 1946 in Chicago. No way. His mother played the banjo, but that didn't stop Terry from becoming an amazing musician. He picked up the guitar around age 9 or 10, joined his first working band at 17, and was just 19 when he joined a band with Walter Parasada and Danny Serafine. The three went on to join the Missing Links, a group basically covering cheesy pop tunes, until one night when Terry encouraged the band to play a Frank Zappa song in response to an annoying request by an annoying club owner. According to the Terry Kath Experience, Terry's daughter's doco about her dad, this turned out to be a defining moment as the band developed their own identity and changed their name to The Big Thing, a precursor to Chicago. But not just a founding member, Terry was really the front man of Chicago when they recorded their first album as Chicago Transit Authority in January 1969. Actually, Terry composed the song called The Introduction that opens that album. The complexity of this piece is off the charts. He sung on it too. 25 or 64 is Terry's best known solo. Now the progression is simple but at the same time harmonically interesting due to the chromaticism in the riff. So it's like A, G, F sharp, F, E. But he was such an incredible improviser that every time he played it live it was entirely different and always incredible. Now, look, Clapton played on Mail's album in 65 and Jimmy recorded Hey Joe in 66. So I'm not claiming Terry Kath pioneered the genre, but Hendrix did tell Chicago's Jimmy Pankow, "You have a guitarist that's better than me," and later is reported to have said, "Terry Kath is the greatest guitarist in the universe." And we know Jimmy liked to travel. But if you have a look at footage of Terry playing in 1969, 1970, he really was a level above anything else that was going on. The tragedy of it all, of course, is that Terry accidentally shot himself when he was only 31. So let's learn it. Terry stretches out over 3 choruses or 12 passes of that riff, utilising a number of scales along the way in this brilliant solo. The whole thing is like 3 different movements, 3 broad sections. You got the first, like the warm-up on the neck pickup. Then Terry flicks to the bridge pickup for like the wild bends and the trills. And then the final section is the wah freak out section. The first phrase, nice and easy, easiest part of the whole thing. So that opening ascent is just like an A pentatonic, but adding in the major second, so the B notes there. But then it turns into Yngwie's favourite scale, the harmonic minor, for that descent. So sliding from the 14th down to the 9th, up to the 10th, 4th to the 5th, 9th, 4th, 5th, 1st. Now this second run is one of the hardest parts in the whole thing for me. It really rips along. He turns to a Dorian minor, which includes the F sharp note. So it's basically a G major scale played from the A note. Now this is really clever and demonstrates Terry's wonderful improvisational ear, because that F sharp note fits wonderfully with the first 3 bars of the progression, but clashes horribly with the F. But Terry never makes that mistake. I'm really confident this is how Terry plays it. He's already down here on the 1st fret of the G string, moves up to the 2nd fret, then sliding from the 5th to the 7th fret on the D string, that's G to A. So sliding up into the 7th position, from the 7th to the 9th fret on the G string. So that part, when we slow it right down, like I've written it out as 16th notes, but it's almost triplets. It's halfway between 16th notes and triplets, which at 150 BPM is almost impossible to tell, but it's things like that that give a guitarist like Terry Kath this incredible feel, you know, a swagger, a groove. It's a form of pocket to play like that. So anyway. Now this next run is where it really starts to shred. We're hitting the 8th fret on the B string just before the bar starts. 3, 4. So that's the whole run. He's starting from this A, 10th fret on the B string, goes all the way down to this A, 5th fret on the E string, and works his way back up to where he started. Point of note, Terry's pentatonic. Terry loves to get around the neck using this shape. That was a pentatonic. And I remember learning this in a book when I was a kid, improvising rock guitar that I had when I was a kid. Yeah, so instead of straight up the neck in one position, so you've got your 5 notes with a position change. And Terry does that a lot, but he's a big man, he's got big hands, and it seems like he played mostly with 1, 2 and 3, using that sort of thing, which really helps in that little position change there. So playing that whole thing again, I'm going to start on the G note just before the bar because it's part of the same run. 3, 4. Maybe we'll try even slower. 3 E and 4 E and. That run is a great example of where I would single that out and work out exactly how I'm going to play it with both hands, where I'm picking up, where I'm picking down, where I'm sliding, hammering, all that stuff, and then do blocks of 20 repeats, super slow, until I've convinced myself that it's easy, that I'm gliding across the neck. You know, if you can't do this first try by looking at the tabs, then you're probably like me and you've got to really work hard at it. So that's my biggest hint to anybody trying to get through something like this. Play it ridiculously slow. There's no point pushing the boundary of what you can reach, because all you're doing is practicing it with tension in your body. Practice it over and over at a speed where you can't possibly mess it up. That way we're learning the patterns, and we're also learning that we can do it, that it's easy, that it feels good, that it feels easy. That's the secret. So just for the theory heads, that's the first complete A Dorian run in this thing. There's your F sharp, the Dorian note borrowed from the G major scale. B, that's the F sharp again. But then the ascent is back to the A pentatonic, using that shape that Terry loves to use to traverse the neck. Okay, the next bit is not easy either. We're up on the 10th fret again. Then there's a little triplet there, so I pull off to the 10th, slide back to the 8th. Two little trills there, just 16th notes moving into 8th notes. 3, 4. The next run is a staccato run. Now these are really important. This is another part of Terry's feel, the way he plays, that keeps feeling in there. He's not just blazing away, because he could play so incredibly fast. He could have just zipped up and down the scale showing off endlessly, but instead his phrasing is what makes this thing incredible. So this phrase, so we're in 7th position. So you'll notice all of those notes are clipped short, dun, 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 all played staccato. And he's got that C sharp in there, which really shouldn't be there. Probably a mistake, but Terry makes it work. It sounds fantastic. But also, he gives it a slight, like, quarter tone bend. Classic rock bend, 7th fret, D note, upper whole tone. Then flicks that pickup selector switch to the bridge position. So a couple of bars of wailing bends just on that same note. Now there's another little bit of a staccato part of that phrase which breaks up the flow of notes in a really nice way. Now this whole section, it feels a bit endless. It just rips and rips and rips. And this is the other thing that I found really hard to master, and I had to practice lots and lots and lots of times. It has a trademark Terry Kath blues lick at the start. So I love that little lick. So I'm playing it with my little finger, which Terry didn't. He had really big hands. He's using his third finger and bending with the second there. And I also do a sneaky little hybrid pick in there to collect that bottom string. It's just hard to get across at the speed that Terry does this. So that little phrase there, he does it's a little triplet in there, and then that lands on beat 4. So we've got a great blues lick, but there's that gap in it, again with the phrasing. Now the next run is back into the kind of harmonic minor very quickly. Terry goes back to the C note after that open A, then back a fret, hammering on from the B to the C, grabbing the G sharp to slide into the A, then up the pentatonic, back to the B again, and I reckon he slides back, then does a pull off, then slides up with his second finger, then a few of his really super fast trills again. So that's 4 and 5, 5 and 7, 7 and 9. But if you slow it right down, as he's moving to that 7 and 9, you can hear one there's a C sharp in there as he goes past that fret. Point of note, Terry's trills are way too quick for me. There's no way I can play at the speed that guy played at. Ridiculous. This next section is a couple more of Terry's wonderful phrasing examples. So you can hear that it's a little flourish, a little trill, and then triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Wonderful. Sliding into the 10th fret on the B string, the A note. Pull off to the 8th, slide back to the 7th, play the 8th, play the 7th. And then he does a pentatonic run, reaching up with the second finger to the 9th fret on the G string. And they're triplets, so 3, 4. Once more, 3, 4. When he's on the 12th fret here, he goes back to the 10th fret for just a split second, like a grace note, to hammer back onto the 12, then pulls off and slides to the 8th. It's really, really quick, that little flourish. The rest of that run, so 7, 8, 7, and then he actually slides to the 10th fret, 7 and 8. Again, 3, 4. Now the next bit is another really tricky run, and slowed down, it is such a great phrase. This is one of my favourite phrases out of the whole thing. It sounds like Terry's bending the 7th fret on the B string to the 8th, but you can hear that A note in there as well. And then we've got a triplet trill on the G string, 5th fret to 7th fret and back. Then, and the way he ends that run, it's so da-da-da, da-da-da. That sort of phrasing just amazes me. How is he thinking up these? It's not just note choices, but the melodies, including the way that these sentences are spoken on the guitar. Incredible. Okay, again, 3, 4. Okay, the next part. Another fantastic idea. Terry, suddenly he does two striking things that really grab our attention. Number one, he performs a 3-fret bend. So bending from B to D. And number two, he then includes a C sharp note, making the song sound like it's gone from A minor right up to this point to A major. Oh, how can I illustrate this? So I'm holding an A minor triad there over that bass line to give you the impression, but all of a sudden this part, it sounds like it goes. So he's bending the B up to the D and then releasing a little bit to sound like. Point of note, Terry's Strings. Guitar Player magazine interviewed Terry for their August 1971 issue. In that interview, he revealed that he strings his guitars in quite an interesting way. He uses a set of 10 to 46 gauge strings, but throws away the 46 and instead uses the A string as his heaviest E string, and so on, and then replaces the high E string with a high A string from a tenor guitar set, which I guess is like an 8 or a 7 or something. Or it could probably be a 6. I think I remember hearing that Jeff Beck used a set of 6s on like Wired or Blow by Blow with like a plain D. Terry had those big hands. He's a big guy, big strong hands, and a set of strings lighter than I've ever played on. Any wonder he could do those lovely big bends. Meanwhile, my flesh is peeling away from my bloody fingernail. Then he slides back 10th to 8th fret, then bends the 10th fret up the same distance, an A up to a C, another 3 fret bend, and does a similar idea. Then a couple of super bluesy little bends in that descending run after that. He bends that 5th fret C note slightly, then a half step bend from the D to the E flat to the flat 5 out of the blues scale. Now we're into the final section, and this is the incredible wah pedal solo. On the one hand, Terry does a very simple thing with the wah. He's just stomping on it forward, open and close, wah, 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 for the rest of this guitar solo. Point of note, Terry's wah pedal. Now, everybody loves a wah guitar solo. But have you ever heard anyone else do this? That phrase, that's incredible. That ingenious phrase blew my mind as a kid. My dad plays saxophone and clarinet, and he was into Chicago, and he used to play this album to us as kids. And it's just always stuck in my head. It's just incredible. And I haven't heard anyone else do it. Oh, actually, I heard Phil Emanuel do something very similar, but yeah, no one else. I'm going to leave that off here because it's easier to hear the notes, hear what's going on without that, and I don't have to teach you anything more than stomp on it and tap your foot to the song. 1, 2, 3, 4. He starts with another 7th fret on the G string, bending a whole tone up to sound like an E. But this is one thing that I only just found out. I've been playing this solo for years with one of the bands I play in, and I thought I had it written out pretty accurately, but slowing it down to double check it for this clip, I found another fantastic lick. The first part of the wah solo, he plays this. So he's just releasing that bend a little bit up and down to sound like. So that works with that wah, 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 wow. Then we go back to the 10th fret and bend up 3 frets again. More staccato. So bending up to that C note and back twice. Then picking it and doing the release. Then a series of descending trills at lightning speed. So that's 8 to 10 on the B string, 7 to 8, 5 to 7, and what's that, 3 to 5. And then I move back here into the 5th position for the last one, and a bend at the end of it. Then we've got these great little call and answer, lightning fast call and answer. The call is, and the response, the little double stop rhythm lick. Then it does a very similar one again. It sounds this time like it's, then, so playing the 8th fret, bending it half a step to sound like a G sharp, and bending it a full tone to sound like A. The next one's quite messy. It's really hard to hear, but it sounds like those 5th fret notes on the D, G and B strings, and then hammers on, but he's actually grabbed both of these 7th fret notes on the D and G strings, because you can hear a little tiny little faint bend of those 2 notes. Now that's so much detail. I mean, I can't work that in there at that speed. If you can do it, great, but I'm just letting you know. If you think you hear something else, that's what I reckon's going on. Then we're back to the bending the 8th fret up to an A note, 8th fret on the B string, and that 3 fret bend again from the 10th fret. Okay, for this final blast, Terry slides up the neck to the pentatonic shape at the 17th fret. So the same sort of idea. There's some sliding notes preceding the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's that same lick that he did down here. More staccato work with the wah there, then pre-bend, release, pull off. So that's 20th fret on the B string. Release, pull off to the 17th. Then the final licks are 20th fret, then bending the 19th fret on the G string. He does that 3 times. The first time it's, second time the same. Third time we've got a pre-bend on that 19th fret note. So he lets it dip and back up. And then as the band is coming down from that solo, bringing the song back down, Terry does those little... It sounds to me like they're all C to A. 5th fret G string, 7th fret D string. Except for the second one. It sounds like 7/7, but the rest... What a solo. What a tour de force. Now listen guys, don't forget to like it, don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss out on this stuff, and give me some feedback, let's have a chat, post some comments, share it, thumb one in softly for me.